Alan Steinfeld, and welcome to Synthesis. This is a program that merges impossibilities together: life, death, time, space, heaven, earth, male, female. The transition between thesis, antithesis, and synthesis creates a new world. So today I'm very excited about my guest, Anita Mooorjani, whose book Dying to Be Me has inspired thousands around the world. And it's been a while since she's written that book. She's been out on speaking tours, and a whole new level of her teachings is coming. Thank you, Anita, for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Your book, like I told you, I could not put down. It opens up a place of love and feeling and inspiration. And how have you been living that? Of course, you had this miraculous recovery from you died, right? And you recovered from death. And so, but what's been your life like since then?
Oh gosh, it's been quite a journey. If it's specifically since the book has come out, life just hasn't stopped. It's picked up a whole new pace. But the most interesting thing is that I feel the book coming out and the life that has been presented to me with that has given me an opportunity to live my own beliefs, to live the things that I learned from my NDE experience, because I keep reminding myself that I don't have to chase, I don't have to pursue, I just have to be who I am. And so I take things at the pace that work for me, and I make sure that everything I do it because it feels authentic, because I enjoy it, because I want to do it. Everything has to be from a place of a passion for life, a love for myself, and not because I got to do it to stay competitive or to get out there or to get my name out there. I still don't do any of that. I like everything to happen organically and to grow organically. And I feel that just by being true to my message and just by being who I am, and I don't do anything if it doesn't feel like fun. If it feels like work, I don't do it. And yet I feel I've worked harder than I have in my entire life. And yet it doesn't feel like work.
So do you find yourself occasionally slipping back into the old Anita? Like if something comes up and someone wants you to do something, like this interview maybe, but if someone wants you to do something that you're not sure about doing, and do you find like that, because you said you always wanted to please people and it actually created your illness, what do you do when that's...
There are times when I fall into it, and it's so easy. I'll tell you what it is. It's when people try to, and no, it's not this interview. This interview is great fun. No, I was sitting here at this beautiful resort, which you've invited me to, which has been fantastic. So this interview is an absolute pleasure. But I'll tell you what it is. It's when people who tell you, well-meaning people who love you and care for you, but tell you things that they believe are for your own good, but you don't believe it's for your own good. But and this is where I really understand how people fall back into the trap of the old ways of doing things that are inauthentic. I have had people come to me and say, I need certain things to happen. And when it comes from well-meaning people who care for me, I kind of think, oh, they probably know better. They mean well. It's harder to say no to people who are well-meaning and who tell you things in a well-meaning way.
But you still have to do it because if it goes against what you're feeling.
Yes.
So how do you do that? How do you still exert who you are with those people?
I've had to really learn to exert myself in a very loving way. One of the things that I've had to learn also to be careful of is when people do it a certain way. I mean, a specific experience I had was when a friend of mine insisted I go with her to a healer. And she was being well-meaning and she was being loving, but she was coming from a place of fear. And I don't want to go to that place of fear again because that's who I used to be. But she was saying, oh, you must come to this healer with me. She is wonderful and she treats a lot of people, and so she was insisting I come. She says, you know, you're flying all the time, you get tired, you're dealing with time differences, jet lag, you can't sustain this life, you need this kind of healing. So I thought, okay, what do I lose? I'll go once with her. I went once, and the healer said to me, I need to come back 3 times a week. And so I started to get pulled back in. And this healer said, oh, with your lifestyle, if you don't come back 3 times a week, you had cancer. You almost died of cancer. You don't want that to come back. And so that whole thing starts to come back where I...
But what did you say?
At that time, I actually did go back again. And, you know, here's the tricky part, is the healer wasn't trying to scare me. The healer believed it herself. She also believed that, oh, this is someone who had cancer, who nearly died of cancer. She's really got to be careful that she doesn't exert too much energy, or it could come back. And she's still in remission. The 5 years haven't come up yet. And, you know, it's that whole thing. And so, and this is the kind of thing that can play with your mind. But what happened is that I realized that going to see this healer 3 times a week was stressing me out more. And then suddenly it just hit me. I suddenly realized, what am I doing? I had an experience that superseded all of this. What am I doing? And the big lesson for me was, this is how we lose that experience and get sucked back into everybody else's fears. This is how we get that fear, by picking up on everybody else's fears projected onto us.
And you had the feeling not to go to begin with to this healer.
I had the feeling not to go, and I didn't listen to that feeling. I thought, oh, my friend means well, what do I lose? I'll go once. Went once, and this healer said that.
So the lesson is we have to keep trusting our own feel, even if it goes against what everyone else says.
Keep trusting your own feeling. And so this is what I do. Well, first of all, I don't want to say that we never need healers or doctors. I don't want to say that. Your gut feeling will tell you if you need intervention. You know, sometimes you do need intervention. And when you trust your own feelings, the right people will come to you at the right time. And you'll get the right help. And if you trust your feelings, you will know when you are healed. The best healers are the ones who tell you that you have the ability to heal, and they help you access your ability to heal. They don't want you dependent on them. The ones that want you to depend on them are actually, even though they mean well, you know, they could be good healers, that's not the best way to heal someone, because you take away the power of their own healing ability. You take their power away by doing that. This person took away my power by saying I needed to come back to her 3 times a week instead of making me independent of her. So the best healers make you independent. The other thing is, what I now know is that I just need to keep telling myself that what is the decision I would make if I didn't worry about what anybody thought of me? If I don't worry, if I can imagine that every single person is going to love me unconditionally, regardless of my response, you know, whether it's the healer or whether it's my friend who introduced me to the healer, they're all still going to love me unconditionally. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. But that's what I have to tell myself. If I knew they were still going to love me unconditionally, whatever I responded to them, what would be my response? And that, whatever comes to me, that is my authentic response. It's the response I make without worrying what they're going to think of me.
So that you're still working through, you're saying, or is that like anchored into your psyche? It's
anchored, but yet at the same time, the opportunity to practice it keeps on coming up. And it seems to be the way our reality is hardwired. You know, people are hardwired. It's like, in fact, I believe that one of, you know, like many of us are able to get it, how to live in this life. I mean, I talk about it in my book. I talk about the state of being, that heaven is a state and not a place. We bring that state with us. We can recreate it right here. We can get it. Life can work when we know that we have to be authentic, love ourselves, value ourselves, allow our life to unfold. When we allow ourselves to be who we are, we attract what is truly ours. And the thing is that we can get it, absolutely get it, and life can flow really well. But our biggest obstacle is other people.
Right. We have to be with other people in this world.
Yes, and other people are always trying to convince us that we're not being realistic and get real, don't be delusional, and so on.
But we have to know for ourselves that that voice in us that tells us what's the right direction is the one that
Yes.
counts, like you're saying.
Exactly, because when I had cancer, even before I got cancer, a lot of people talk about the importance, for example, of eating healthy foods. Now, here's the thing. I was that person who, even before it was fashionable to eat organic, I was eating organic. I was eating vegan. I was juicing my own wheatgrass, growing my own organic wheatgrass juice. I was reading everything on cancer prevention. I was taking all the supplements. I was doing all the research. Everything I did was to prevent cancer. And guess what happened? I got cancer.
And why do you think? Because you were focused on it so much?
I was highly focused on cancer, but I lived my life out of a fear of getting cancer. I didn't live my life out of a passion for living or a passion for life or a desire to live long. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with eating healthy foods, but today when I choose healthy foods, I choose it because I love my life, absolutely love my life. I do it because it brings me joy to live long. Previously, every choice I made came from a place of fear. Wow. So I made all my choices, all my decisions from fear.
And now you're living your life of passion. You were saying
Yes.
you're living a life now that you could never have imagined. In what way?
If I had to design my life, if I had to create it, if someone said to me, set goals, you've got to set goals in order to get anywhere, it wouldn't even have occurred to me to do what I'm doing today. It wouldn't even have been on my radar.
Like people paying you to fly all over the world and put you up in beautiful hotels and speak.
Yes.
But you love this.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. But what happened is that the universe presented me with a gift that was perfect for me, that I didn't even know was perfect for me. It wasn't even on my radar, because so many things, like every possibility exists in this universe, in this world, in this universe. Every possibility exists, but we're not aware of every single possibility that exists. We're only aware of what we're aware of. Right. We're only aware of what we've come across. So if someone says, you've got to choose a career, you've got to set goals, you're going to choose from within the spectrum of what you know. Mm-hmm. But see, what I talk about is going beyond that, is allowing even what you don't yet know to come into your life.
How?
The answer is actually very simple. It's just by loving and valuing yourself enough to allow yourself to be authentic, be who you are. Always, always be who you are instead of being what other people expect you to be. Love yourself for who you are, not for what others want you to be.
You also said, going back to the fear, that that's not the way to live. It's because you have to survive, you have to protect yourself, you have to be careful. You're saying, don't do that out of fear, do that out of love.
Do that because you love and value yourself.
Not because you're afraid something.
Not because you're afraid that something's going to happen. We are a culture that have been brought up on a diet of fear. That's what we're taught from day one. We're taught fear. I mean, And it's not anybody's fault. Our parents were brought up on a diet of fear. They're their parents. So it's what gets passed down. It's what our teachers pass down to us. Everybody passes this fear down. It's fear of failing, fear of coming last, fear of not being picked for the football team, you know. So it's always fear, fear of not getting into the best schools, fear of not getting the promotion at the job, fear of not getting the right partner, spouse, you know, not getting married. It's always fear, fear, fear. Fear of cancer. Look at all the campaigns. You know, look at the media, the campaigns against cancer, fighting cancer, all the money and awareness they put in cancer. Does anybody put any awareness on health? Hardly. The government certainly doesn't. The medical community doesn't. The drug companies don't. Nobody talks about what health and well-being really is or what it means, but everybody knows what cancer is, and so everybody fears cancer, but nobody knows what it means to be healthy.
So what can people do, like if they drop inside themselves?
Yes.
And how do we discharge the fear that's so ingrained?
See, the way to discharge it is not to focus on discharging the fear. It's like saying, you know, don't think of a pink elephant. Right. So what are you going to think of a pink elephant? What I talk about is about shifting your focus. I use an analogy of a flashlight, which I talk about in great detail in my book. It's about shifting the focus of your flashlight. So instead of constantly focusing on fear and the things that bring you fear, start focusing on loving yourself and what brings you joy, what you love to do, what would make you feel more passionate about your life. Start thinking along those lines without trying to control or eliminate the fear. As you start to think more about how you can nurture yourself, value yourself, love yourself, how you can live a more joyful life, what brings you joy, as you start to introduce these things more and more in your life, the fear gets less and less, because fear and love cannot exist simultaneously. And the more we live in fear, the more we push out love. The more we live from a place of love, and loving is actually easier than we think, because we're always thinking, oh, I've got to love other people unconditionally, and we think, how do I do that? I'm so judgmental. Forget about all that. Just love yourself unconditionally. The rest will fall into place. All the rest will fall into place. Just love yourself. And the more you love yourself, the more the fear will leave your life.
You know, your book is so full of love, and it exudes that, and you exude it, and it's as if you went to that other world and you brought some of that back here. Do you feel like you're still connected to those levels? Talk about that.
Yeah, I feel, most people feel that life happens to them, like they're a victim of life. They feel, damn, this happened to me, now I got to figure this out, I got to fix this, and so they're always working at life because they feel they're a victim of life and life is happening to them and they got to clear this up. I don't believe that life happens to us. I believe life happens through us. In other words, we are just vehicles or channels for life to express itself through us. So there's nothing I have to do except to allow for life to be expressed through me.
Is that how you're sort of connected to the other side?
Yeah, I feel all I have to do is lay myself open for the other side to express itself through me. And that's why my life has unfolded in this way, because if I, the brain, the mind, the ego, had to figure this path out, I wouldn't have even known how to figure it out. I wouldn't have even known how to begin to do it. I wouldn't even have known how to get a book published. But it happened by itself. It got picked up by the publisher. I just wrote a blog and it went viral and Wayne Dyer found it. But so if I had to figure it out, I couldn't do it. So I don't feel that we are here to work at life or to be victims of life. We're here to allow life to work through us.
So if someone was going to live that way, they have to let go of everything they think they know and want to figure out with their mind, and tap into their authentic self.
Yes, tap into their authentic self. It's actually easier than it sounds.
Well, how would someone watching do just that? I mean,
okay, here's the first thing is The first thing is really to value yourself. Absolutely value yourself. We are, believe it or not, kinder and more forgiving towards other people than we are to ourselves. When I came out of the near-death experience, the first time that I could walk, I actually went to the bathroom and I looked in the bathroom mirror in the hospital. And I started crying when I saw my own face. And I said to myself, how could I have done this to you? I promise I will never forsake you again. I will never let you down. I will never treat you like a doormat. And this is what I ask everybody to do. Can you make that promise to yourself that you will never treat yourself like a doormat? You will never let yourself down. You will never forsake yourself. Look yourself in the eyes and say that. Because when you don't allow yourself to treat yourself like that, you don't allow anybody to treat yourself like that. And when you value yourself to that level, and when you know you are deserving and worthy of all good things, that's when you allow good things to come into your life. We actually filter our experiences with our own beliefs about ourselves.
How can, I mean, I know you're telling us, okay, we have to value ourselves for other people to value us. So I want to get that. And I want to value myself because I do value myself. And I want everyone to get the value that they have. But I don't think people really know where to start with that because they've been such an underdog and they haven't treated them. They have been there for other people. And how can we reach this higher state just by looking at ourselves and saying how much we love ourselves?
Well, even also by making a promise to ourselves that we will never forsake ourselves. The other thing that I ask people to do is to ask yourself if you could do something that brings you joy, what would it be? There are many, many things that I actually ask people to do. Another one is that, again, a little bit like what I said earlier, if you could imagine that every single person in your life, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your parents, your boss, whatever, every single person is going to continue to love you unconditionally no matter what decision you make, no matter what you're going to do. If this was the case, if it was confirmed to you that they're going to love you unconditionally, would you still be doing what you are doing now, or would you be doing things differently? Most people whose lives are all completely messed up and they're stressed and they're trying to pull things together and they hate every day, the reason their lives are like that is because they're not living their own life. They're living a life trying to meet the expectations that other people have set. And this is why when we get problems that stem from us trying to meet other people's expectations, these problems are not our problems because they're not the problems that come from us being our authentic self. When you are authentic, you can handle the problems that come your way because they are problems of your own making from you being who you are. And you realize that those problems are not really problems. They're just challenges to take you to the next level and the next level and the next level. But people who really get trapped and stuck, it's because they're living a life that's not theirs.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. You're a messenger from the other side, in a sense. I mean, you have been in both worlds. Why did we really come into this life? I mean, because you've come back, in a sense, you've been reborn. But is it to make these decisions, or what do you see as the reason for life?
For life,
in this realm,
everybody?
Yeah, for everybody. Why did we incarnate? Why are we here?
We actually chose to be here, and it's actually we're not supposed to be suffering as much as we choose to do. Believe it or not, it's a choice, and it's not a choice we make in the other realm before coming here. It seems to be a trap. It's something we fall into after we get here. Life is supposed to be a lot more fun, and we choose to come here to express ourselves in physical. I mean, I'll tell you the short answer why we come here: to eat chocolate.
So you're saying we are really here to live in joy.
To live in joy and to experience life. Because we are all expressions of consciousness. You know, we're all connected. You and I and all of us, we're all connected. we actually share the same consciousness. If we didn't have a physical body, we would feel that connection more obviously. But the physical body from which we express ourselves makes us feel as if we're all separate beings in separate physical bodies.
But yet we can feel each other.
Yes, we can feel each other. We can intuit each other. And the best way to intuit each other is actually in silence, because interestingly, one of the reasons we learn to communicate when we're children, we learn language, we learn communication, is so that we can express ourselves and be understood by other people. But what has actually happened as cultures get more sophisticated, they use communication to disguise their feelings and hide their feelings rather than to express their feelings.
So we're here to feel.
We're here to feel.
And feel each other.
Yes.
And that's the reason for life, in a sense.
That's the reason for life, to feel each other, and to feel that connection. And we're here to experience joy, which is so important, and laughter and humor. I love your sense of humor, by the way.
Oh, good. I should tell some more jokes. But wait. No, I think we are here to have fun. I try to have fun doing whatever I'm doing, whoever I'm talking to. I'm trying to, I think an experience like yours where you've come back is so powerful to teach people there's nothing to fear about death.
Yeah, there is nothing to fear about
You're totally convinced about that.
Oh gosh, yes. There is nothing. Death is amazing. It's beautiful. I still feel my deceased loved ones taking care of me. And they're taking care of you as well, your loved ones. We all have people.
Do you feel mine taking care of me?
Yes, they're there. I know they're taking care of you. Oh, and they try to communicate with us all the time. But the more that we fill ourselves with information, or the more we feel we're controlling life, and the more we have to go out there and research everything and become stressed out and feel we have to work it out and it's our job to figure it out, the less they're able to get through to us.
So are your ancestors communicating with you when you get quiet, and what are they saying to you?
Oh, they're just telling me to let go, and a lot of the things, they just tell me to have fun. Just have fun, let go, don't worry. Don't fear, never fear. We're here. Just enjoy and relax and things like that.
Do you feel, what about reincarnation? Do those ancestors want to reincarnate, or that's nothing you think about?
I don't always think about it, but I have a very different interpretation of reincarnation, because time in the other realm is not linear, and reincarnation depicts linear time. I feel that those other lives are actually simultaneous. So there might be other me's living.
They could be your guides, your other yous.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
So your ancestors could have incarnated, but they're also there in a multi-dimensional sort of way.
Exactly, because a lot of people are afraid that if they call, like when we talk about your loved ones watch over you, a lot of people are afraid that, am I keeping them from something else? No, nobody's keeping anybody, because it is very multidimensional, and time is not linear. All of time exists all at the same time. Space and time there's no time lapse between being in one space and another. They can be anywhere at any time.
Is this going into your new book?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a title you want to share, or you're not ready for that?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, I have two possible titles.
Okay.
Actually, no, I better not share it yet.
Well, you could. Well, okay. But what would they be if they? No, it's okay. It's okay. But it is about this next level. So what else? Do you want to put in this new book? What else will you be mentioning?
Oh, I will be talking about how easy it is to keep falling out of that state, right. Because one of our desires is to fit in, and we constantly seem to have to choose between fitting in with what everybody else wants us to do. By fitting in, I mean by meeting other people's expectations. So that's one of our desires, and whenever we start to fall into that, where every decision we make is to meet other people's expectations, to fit in, then that's when we start to lose this connection. I can call it the connection to nirvana, or the connection to heaven. We start to lose that when we become more concerned about trying to meet everybody else's expectations.
So you know you're this immortal, eternal being.
Yes.
And so who's the person, what aspect of this person is here? You know, how much of that expanded is in this body? Or can you bring it all in, I guess I'm asking.
I can bring it all in. In that time when I got healed from the cancer, to use that point of time, the healing came because I brought it all in. And so when I was this expanded person that was in all of space, all of time, this immortal, eternal person that just took over, there was no room for cancer anymore. And
aren't you like that all the time?
Yes, I am. But every now and then, you know, I am like that all the time, and so are you. But every now and then we have to focus on the physical. Like, for example, when you're writing that check to pay your rent bill or
Right.
you're kind of back down there in that level. But the idea is not to cut ourselves off from the physical. Because the other thing that I feel is that when a lot of people feel that in order to attain this state, the state of nirvana or whatever we want to call it, that we actually have to cut ourselves off and renounce the physical world, become detached from people, and basically wear robes and not have any, you know, clothes and not have any pleasure and sit on a mountaintop or something and meditate the rest of our life. I don't believe that that's what I've come here for, at least. Absolutely not. I've come to immerse myself in physical life. That's why I'm here. If I wanted to renounce everything, if I didn't want to be part of physical life, if I didn't want to listen to music and dance and eat chocolate, I would have stayed up there.
Right. So you're here to love it all.
Yes, to love it all. And that's what I believe we're all here for. If we were here, if the idea was to renounce it, we would have stayed there.
Right. No, I love that. I want to do it all. I want to have it all. I want to, you know, be it all. You also talked about the flashlight. So if people took snapshots of reality and suddenly the lights turned on, they saw all of reality.
Yes.
They would have some idea of what you experienced. Can you talk about that?
Sure. It's like being like life is like being like if you imagine being in a dark warehouse with just one little flashlight.
This life right here.
This life.
This limited vision of what we
Yes.
think is possible.
Yes. So imagine if this limited vision is like being in a huge warehouse, but you don't know the extent of the warehouse because you've just got one little flashlight, a little flashlight, and all you can see is what that little flashlight is flashing on, and that's all you can see. And you think that that's all that life is, because in that moment, that's all you can see, whatever your flashlight is focused on. Then imagine if the lights go on and you realize you're in this huge warehouse, and I mean huge, where you can't even see the ends. And you notice there are shelves and shelves and shelves of all kinds of things. You know, beautiful things, not so beautiful things, and things of all different colors. Most of those things that you've never seen before because your flashlight never shone on them. But a few of those things you've seen because your flashlight did shine on them. And all these things exist simultaneously. Things that you knew existed and things you never knew existed. Things you couldn't even imagine existed. Things that are beyond your ability to even imagine. And there they are alongside of the things that you have experienced, you have seen with your flashlight. So when the lights go back off, even though you're back to one little flashlight, you're aware that so much more exists than what you ever knew was possible. And the flashlight is, for me, is an analogy of your awareness. You can only be aware of your immediate present moment, but you don't know how much else exists that you're not aware of.
So for you, your near-death experience or your death experience was seeing that big warehouse all lit up and seeing the things you could never have imagined.
Yes.
And what is the most amazing thing you saw on the other side that you felt, or that people might have a hard time understanding here?
The most amazing thing I felt or learned was that we are absolutely amazing, magnificent, empowered beings, like beyond all belief. And most people don't even realize it. I didn't realize it until the lights went on. And I thought, oh my God, this is what I'm capable of doing, so much more than I ever would have imagined from my life behind that one little flashlight. And it was just an awakening that this is what I'm capable of. But nobody tells you, nobody brings it to your awareness. And so we go through our lives thinking that we're one little dim bulb. And I realized that I was this humongous force of energy. And I understood in that realm that all these realities existed, and there I was dying of cancer, but there was another reality of me completely healed of cancer. And if I wanted, that was mine.
And you took it.
And I took it.
And you're happy you did.
And I'm happy I did. And so when I came out of the coma, it wasn't that I knew my body was going to heal. It was that I knew I was already healed, but my body just had to catch up.
And your body did, because it responded to those thoughts and intentions.
Very quickly. Within 5 days, the tumors shrunk by 70%.
It's a miracle. You know, I mean, of course it's a miracle, but your life now is a miracle as well.
Because I couldn't have imagined it.
It is a miracle. So maybe if we just like sit back and relax for a second, and could you set an intention? Can we bring in, because you help groups, you help people focus, and so maybe just people watching, we can just settle in and relax into ourselves a little bit. Do you want to?
Sure,
Just
yes.
see how we can redo that. I'll just...
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah. So we can absolutely do that. I want to mention to people that the best thing that we can do if we want to set an intention is to actually surrender all our thoughts, all our ideas, all our, I'm going to say desires, but in a sense, it's more like, you know, so many of us are racing and chasing and pursuing and trying to get ahead and competing and thinking I've got to get ahead of that person and I don't want to fall behind. Those are all the kinds of thoughts I want people to surrender. Just let go, just completely surrender. Stop chasing and know that you are complete and you are perfect just the way you are. You are complete and you have everything already within you to attain whatever it is that you need to attain for this life, anything that's truly yours. The only thing you have to do is be who you are. Express yourself authentically. Just be as you can be, because otherwise you deprive the universe of who you came here to be. And that's all you have to do. And when you can get into that state of being, and when you can just be and allow yourself to be without constantly focusing on chasing or pursuing, when you're just being, you become a clear vessel, a clear channel for messages and communication to come through you, or guidance, for guidance to come through you. The guidance comes through you when you are being, not when you are chasing and pursuing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good. That's a good thing for people to take with them, and just remember that. So now you've been lecturing all over the world, you've been writing a new book, and you've been in sort of a whole group of spiritual seekers. How has that whole community been for you? I mean, this is sort of like different than your regular life, or a little bit, but you were sort of into, but like what do you notice among all these conventions and workshops and retreats you go on? What stands out for you?
Well, I enjoy them. The people are all absolutely beautiful people, amazing people. But I think what I notice, the biggest thing I notice, is that people are people wherever you go.
I notice that too.
Yes. So whether it's a spiritual convention or a business convention, you will meet just as many beautiful people and just as many people who are in it to get ahead. It's the same thing. People are people. in every culture, in every society, in every group, in every convention.
But what's beautiful about you is that people look up to you as a leader and you keep pushing it back on them, right? I mean, but you are a leader too.
And I like to think that the power is within you. It's absolutely within you. And that is actually the crux of my message, is that don't give your power away. And that is the biggest thing I learned when the lights went on, is that we as a race, as a culture, we give our power away. We give our power to our governments, to our leaders, to our families, and even to our gurus and our gods, and so on and on, our healers.
They want to give it to you, I bet.
They want to, yeah. And people want to give it to me, but I don't want your power. I want you to be authentic. And when I say you, I mean people in generally, not you specifically. But yes, so because the idea is for you to take your power back so that you create a life that is authentic for you, so that you're not living someone else's life.
And only we know that.
Yes.
Only we know what's authentic for us. And there's a reason we incarnated, a unique reason for this life.
Exactly. You are unique. You are absolutely unique. And you have to embrace your uniqueness. Be who you are. Don't deprive the universe of who you came here to be. Shine your light as brightly as you can. And really, that's the message. And a lot of people talk to me about, what about meditation, prayer, and so on. Both are equally important. Some religions teach prayer, some teach meditation. But what I say is that when we pray, we are surrendering, we are talking. When you talk, when you pray, you are talking. So when we are talking, when I say when you pray, don't ask for stuff. Give stuff, like say, okay, I am surrendering this to you. I am surrendering this to you, to your guides, to God, whoever you want to pray to. I want you to take this over. I want you to take this over. When you meditate, you're listening. So in prayer, you're speaking. In meditation, you're listening.
I really just enjoy your simplicity and your humbleness and how you've had these amazing experiences, but you're just a regular person too.
Yes, I am. I love shopping. I love chocolate.
No, it's great. Do you think we can live forever, though, if you have the right attitude? Do you think we are, in essence, immortal?
I think we can certainly live a lot longer than we have been living so far. We definitely can. And at some point, yes, we could probably live forever. It would take a huge shift in our consciousness to be able to do so. And, and remember that quote that nothing is impossible until somebody does it.
Yes, exactly. Well, people have done that immortal essence, the Taoist.
So I honestly believe absolutely anything is possible.
Oh, one more subject I wanted to cover is that we talked about children and education in an early interview, and I think you had some very unique perspectives on the proper way or the correct way to integrate children. What would you say?
Well, first of all, children need to be loved for who they are, not for who you want them to be. And children need to be loved unconditionally, absolutely unconditionally, and they need to learn to embrace their uniqueness. The problem is at this moment, the way that we bring up, society brings up kids, we bring up kids to be competitive. And so from the time they're young, they learn that they got to outdo all the other kids in their class, in everything, in sports, in studies, in academics, in everything. So that's how we create this competitive world, because they grow up to be competitive adults. Kids need to learn to, instead of being competitive, they need to learn to collaborate. If kids learned completely differently that we are not separate, we're actually expressions of the same consciousness. If kids learn to collaborate, to cooperate, if they were rewarded for cooperating and collaborating instead of being rewarded for competing and coming first, we would have a very different society, a very different culture.
I think we're going to create that. Good. Thank you.
My pleasure.